Hello, folks. Hope you're doing all right. Right? You're doing okay.
I'm definitely doing okay.
We're starting this one a little differently today. This is Stay Well with Dr. Zorba Pastor.
That's me.
There we go. Folks, we're tapping on our beverage glasses here. This is, you know
And
what
it's
it
not
is.
beer.
No, it's not. I have water.
I got
Zorba has an
coffee.
espresso.
Got an espresso. Right.
Double espresso for
Yeah.
Zorba today. And he's right across the desk from me. He's the one and only Dr. Zorba
I am the
Pastor.
only one in this room who is a doctor.
That's true. That's true. Today, this is going to be interesting, folks. Zorba's going to share with us some personal news. You're not
Yes,
going to want to
yes.
miss that one. Some health news. He's going to help out a caller. We'll do some listener questions. We might even hear from the grammar cops. We'll see.
Right,
We might. We're not sure
right, yeah.
if they're going to show up. We'll
That's
see.
right.
But if you have a question, you can call this number anytime, 608-492-9292.
That's right. 608-492-9292. Ask Dr. Zorba at gmail.com. Now, are we going to have a mom joke in this?
I don't think there's a mom joke today.
Really?
I don't know. Maybe we'll tack one on at the end.
But
We'll
maybe
see.
you can think of a joke as we're doing this.
Okay. I try to often.
We can have a Carl joke. You're always thinking about it. Yeah. We'll do a Carl joke. And
Yeah.
I'll do the mom joke.
Yeah.
It'll be Carl joke.
Okay. Let's jump right in, though. This is a different thing here.
Right.
You recently, Zorba, you had a surgery, and you want to share your story with us. Give us a little background.
Right.
What's going
so,
on?
atrial fibrillation. So let me talk a bit about that because I've had atrial fibrillation on and off for probably close to 3 decades. So atrial fibrillation is where extraneous impulses go to your heart, and instead of going lub-dub, 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 it's an irregular rhythm. It goes bum, 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 bum. Doesn't make any sense.
Interesting.
And that's because it has extra impulses that come from around the pulmonary veins. Now, the pulmonary veins, we don't know why this happens, are right near the atrium. You've got 2 atrium, those are the top parts of your heart, and 2 ventricles, okay? And normally, lub-dub, lub-dub, the lub is really the atrium contracting, and the dub is the ventricle. And the ventricle contracts, the left ventricle contracts, pushing blood throughout the body. On the right side, the atrium and the ventricle are going through the lungs at the same time, getting oxygen into your cells. Now, when you're younger and your heart is really excellent, it's working well, if you go into atrial fibrillation where the top part doesn't produce enough blood into your heart, your ventricle, it doesn't bother you as much because what's really happening is you have something called the ventricular suck. So your heart is really strong. It's just normal. There's no scar tissue. And after the ventricle pulses down and pushes the body out, when it opens up, it goes and it sucks the blood out of the atrium.
Interesting. Okay.
So even though the atrium is now giving a kick in there, it's not as important. As you get older, as you've had atrial fibrillation more, your heart remodels. Why it remodels, we don't really understand. But it's the remodeling that actually makes the heart stiffer and have more scar tissue. So the atrial kick is even more important than ever before. So back about 30 years ago, 25, 30 years ago, I went into atrial fib the first time. My wife, Penny, was taking my son, Zach, down to Chicago. He was going to an interview to North Carolina where he ended up getting his MBA. And I never had atrial fib. I woke up and I said, oh my God, I'm in atrial fib. She's not here. I'm not going to call her up. So I called up my best friends, Dan and Kay. I said, I'm an AFib. I got to get to St. Mary's because I want to get out of it. Because if you're in it more than 24 hours, you have to be in a blood thinner before they cardiovert you. So,
Can I jump in? What does it feel like to have that episode?
well, it feels like you drank. First of all, many people are asymptomatic. For me, it feels like your heart is jiggling in your body. It's like, and it feels like you had too much coffee, but you're overly tired.
Interesting. Okay.
So you've got that feeling. And so many people, probably 60%, don't even know what's happening. But I'm very much in touch with my body. I knew it right away. I called my cardiologist. Well, I didn't have a cardiologist, but I called my friend, because my group, the cardiologist, and she said, come on in and we'll zap you. So they put you to sleep, give you DC counter shock, go, and your heart goes back into a normal
With the 2 paddles? Okay.
Then you go home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't drive. My
No.
friends took me home.
Yeah.
And then I didn't tell Penny or Zach until they came home. Otherwise, they would worry about me.
Sure. Right.
So I did not go into AFib after that, probably for 4 or 5 years. But there's something that occurs with that called remodeling with the heart. And then after you have the second episode, there's going to be a third episode and a fourth episode. Now, in those days, you didn't do anything about it. There's a difference now in these days. You just went into the episodes, and then eventually you would use something called a pill in the pocket. If you went into an episode and it lasted more than 12 hours, you would take antiarrhythmic drugs, and you would take 2 pills, and that would often take you out of the episode. But then that stops working. So I had something called an ablation. The initial ablations were where they burned part of your heart from the inside. The newer ablation, not the one we use today, is where they use a cryocautery. They put in a little balloon in the heart and they freeze part of your heart. They try to they find the areas, this is magic, where the extra impulses are, and then they destroy the tissue, but they destroy some of the heart issue the muscle issue, because they just freeze it. They want to get rid of the superhighway that these impulses come from. They can't get rid of they want to get rid of the impulses, but they have to get rid of the superhighway. And so they do that. First ablation worked for 7.5 years. I never thought about it. I was off the grid in Nepal and Tibet twice. And then 7.5 years, all of a sudden, started again.
Happened again.
So I was zapped, and then it happened again and again. So I had the second ablation. Second ablation was a different part of the heart around the pulmonary veins. It occurred, and that lasted for 3.5 years, much shorter period of time. So then I went in, got zapped, and my cardiologist said there's a new form of ablation called pulsed frequency ablation, which is the new kid on the block, which is monumentally different. So think of it as, instead of just killing all of the cells in the area, the cells that produce the extra impulses shake differently. Think of it as a chord. You know, if you have a chord on a guitar, it vibrates differently, and one chord will vibrate differently than the other chord. One string will vibrate differently than the other string. So Boston Scientific invented this device, which is monumental, where it will only generally kill those cells that are producing extra impulses. Wow. It's monumentally different because there are fewer side effects. And according to their website, there have been 500 million uses of it right now, or 500,000 rather, uses of it right now. And there are no problems, no cardiac events from that, 0. Now, it's hard to me to believe 0.
Yeah.
I mean, but it means it's a very small number. Because the number is usually 2 to 3%. I mean, it's a small number anyway. But this allows one area of the heart that's always been the most difficult. So my EP cardiologist went in, put to sleep. They put in 4 different catheters through 2 veins on the right side and the left side. One catheter is an echo. One catheter does the ablation, this new Boston Scientific device. One catheter goes to a place called the bundle of His in case they destroy some of the reaction of the heart, in case they have to put in a pacemaker. It's right there to put in. And one other actually manipulates the others. And it's sort of interesting how they go in. They go in through the right atrium and poke a hole. They go into the left atrium and poke a hole to get into the right atrium.
Interesting. Okay.
Which turns out to be a safer way than going through the artery. It's kind of interesting. And we have an area that where there's a soft spot in our heart when at birth called the foramino valley. So they find it, they look at it. Well, they don't actually look at it, and they poke a hole. I don't know how they do it.
This is magic. This sounds like magic.
Oh, it's total magic.
Incredible.
So she looked at the first 2 ablations. They held true.
Oh, they did good work.
She did the work.
Oh, she did.
She felt pretty good.
Same
she
doctor
said
for
a
all
little
the
bit.
ablations.
She said it's a little bit. She didn't use kind of scary because you wonder how your work is. So it was a new area, which is the most dangerous area. That area they don't like to do as much with the old way because you can poke a hole into the esophagus. Bad news. You got to fix that. Destroy the phrenic nerve, or the phrenic nerve which you use for talking, so all of a sudden it may be hard to talk. And you may cause something called cardiac tamponade, where there's blood that goes into your heart and there's a membrane around the heart, and all of a sudden it fills up and you die.
Okay, don't want that.
You don't want that, or you can die. So major complications. But with this new device, it's much safer.
And Zorba, we're recording this, you did this a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks
2
ago.
weeks ago.
And here you are.
Well, what happened is I lost 10 to 20% of my cardiac output. I didn't like it. I would get up in the morning, I would say, I don't like this.
And you could feel that.
I would
You
actually
could tell
say,
the
I
difference.
hate this.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would say
Other
really
things.
nasty words about hating it because I was dizzy.
Yeah.
I couldn't go on horseback riding. I got on the horse once and I thought, I can't do this. I decided I can't get on a bike because I don't feel sure of myself. When I would walk up 2 flights of stairs, I would be short of breath. And then I wondered, I thought to myself, if I had to adjust my life to this, I would do it, but I hate it.
Right.
And so I hope the ablation holds. I got the ablation done, and it was like, and I stayed in the hospital overnight. Some people do, some people don't, but they kept me in for a couple of reasons that they were concerned about. Nothing actually turned out to be necessary. And there's nothing like normal sinus rhythm. I feel really good. I mean, it's just amazing. All of a sudden, the next day, you get 15 to 20% of your cardiac output back.
Yeah.
So I think there's some bottom lines for our listeners here, because I've discussed this with many, many people. Number one, atrial fib is common. It turns out 20 to 25% of people over 80 have atrial fib. Many of them don't know it. It is a leading cause of stroke. Because atrial fib can cause blood to pool in something called the left atrial appendage. And if a little clot pools, it goes out and often goes in your brain and causes a stroke. So if you have an irregular pulse, you want to go see your doctor. And there's a number of devices that connect your iPhone. There's a device called Kardia, Kardia. Costs about $75. You get the device. It attaches to, it doesn't attach to your phone. It goes by Bluetooth to your phone. Put in 2 thumbs on both sides. It'll tell whether or not you have a normal sinus rhythm. Oh. So if you have an irregular pulse, you can do that and tell your doctor whether or not you're in AFib. Smartwatches will do it. Kardia is better.
It is.
Yeah, Kardia, much better. If you have a question, you get it. You have an irregular pulse. You put it's a little teeny device. It's really wonderful. If you've got it, you want to be treated with a blood thinner because you reduce your risk from stroke. The risk goes up. It's about triple your normal risk by age. But if you're on a blood thinner, it reduces it to 1.5 times your normal age. So it's a major thing. And then there are medicines that may control it. And then you might want to consider an ablation. And if you're going to consider an ablation, you want somebody who's been doing it for a while. You don't want to be the first 20 patients.
Sure.
You don't want to be the first 40 patients. You want somebody who's been doing it. And then I talked to somebody for an hour the other day who lives in Michigan, a friend of a friend, because she was debating whether or not to do it. And she said, I've talked to a lot of people where the ablation failed. And I thought to myself, well, first of all, people who it failed in are the ones who talk about it. And then I didn't look at my ablation as failing. I had one that lasted for 7.5 years. I didn't consider that a failure. It lasted for 7.5 years. Yeah. And the second one lasted for 3.5 years. It wasn't a failure. It lasted for 3.5 years. It gave me my more normal thing. And I hope this ablation lasts. So I looked at it not as a failure. I looked at it as a success for 7.5 years. It shows you how you think about things affects ultimately how you decide what you're going to do. So look at the glass as half full and take action.
And now, Zorba, you are out on the farmer's market in Madison.
Yeah, that's right.
Wearing a sandwich board.
That's right.
Promoting the podcast.
That's right.
I love it.
Yeah,
How'd that go? That was the last week you were doing
that was so much fun.
There's pictures on the Facebook page.
So first of all, I learned something about this. First of all, I'm anxious to do it. Why should I be anxious? I don't know. I'm putting myself out there. So then I thought if I wear sunglasses, I'll be less anxious, which was true. I put on my sunglasses. I didn't put on the ones with mirrors so no one could see my eyes. So then I stood there and I realized people don't want to look at you eye to eye when you're walking there because it's like you're asking for money. So
You're
I
wearing a
decided
sandwich board.
I can avert my eyes. So I could see people coming and going. And then people would come up to me, many of them who listen to the podcast, listen to the show. And then I discovered right away they wanted to do selfies.
course.
So I've got like 40 selfies, wanted to do a number of them on my phone. And once people wanted to do selfies, other people came up and wanted to know what I was doing with the sandwich board because there were people doing selfies. And then I had value, because they wanted to do selfie with this guy in the sandwich board. That was my value. Why are they doing the selfie? Now that looks of interest. It's not something begging for money or political or something else.
Right.
It's a selfie. So I had a lot of friends. I had people who I took care of as children.
Oh, yeah?
Who came up to me. Then I had a young guy, must have been like 20, and he said, "Wow, my parents used to see you on TV. They used to listen to you on public radio. Can we do a selfie?" And I looked at him and I said, "Do you want to do a selfie?" And he said, "Oh, you would do that?" As if it's not much. So he was like 6 feet. I'm really short. And we did a selfie, and I have a copy of that. And he said, "Oh, they're going to be so excited. I have a selfie with Dr. Zorba Pastor." And I thought, I brought joy to people. And that's how I'm going to do it when I'm on my sandwich board. So tell people about the podcast.
Yeah.
You that are listening are my social media experts.
Love it. And if you have a question for this guy across the desk from me, he doesn't have the sandwich board on
That's
now.
right.
608-492-9292.
Email askdrzorba@gmail.com and come to our website, drzorba.org.
And when you call, folks, listeners, you can leave a voicemail too if you don't want to do, an actual consult on the phone with Zorba. Yeah. And we're going to go to one of those voicemails right now. This is a listener from Logan, Utah.
Hi, Dr. Zorba and Carl. Love your show, long-time listener. The other day, I saw something on YouTube, supposedly by a well-known medical authority. I thought to myself, I wonder if it's really him. And at the bottom of the screen, I tapped summarize the video. And then it says, ask a question. And I asked, how do I know it's really him? And it says, well, no, it isn't him, and this is why. And this is how you check. I thought, this is funny, and I thought I would send it on to you. Love your podcast. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, this is a major problem. How do you tell whether or not? Well, first of all, we know that there are fake things on the web.
There's so much junk out
there.
But
we've known that for years now. So we've developed an understanding of that. A friend of mine called me up the other day and she said, I got a notice from Apple that my phone has been hacked. Now, I know not to press on that button.
Sure.
But then I decided that I would, maybe my phone was hacked, maybe it wasn't hacked, but I'm going to go get Norton. And I'm going to get it on all my devices. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, that's a good thing. So you're not going to check to see if it was hacked because it might have been all spam. That's what I thought. On the other hand, having Norton on your devices is actually a good idea. And you did it the right way. You didn't push on the button. Well, AI, we're going to develop the same savvy of doing that. So let me give an example. I do a newspaper column every week. Okay. So what I do is I look at the PR for the newspaper column. In this case, it had to do with a blood test for Alzheimer's. And I thought, instead of I have a usual way of doing the article. I look at the article, I look at the abstract, I look at the discussion at the beginning, I look at the results, look at the discussion at the end. It takes me, 45 minutes to actually decide, with the writing and what I'm doing with the article. So I thought, maybe what I'll do is just, and I have ChatGPT Pro that I use to help me with some of my editing. I said, I'm just going to take the article and whatever else came out on JAMA, I'm just going to take it, put it into ChatGPT Pro, not do anything else, and say, write a 500-word article in my voice.
Right, as an experiment. See what happens.
Just want to see what happens.
Yeah.
And I use it for editing of like words or a sentence. I use it as a thesaurus, but let me just do it. And it took a while, by the way. It took probably 45 seconds, which kind of surprised me. I thought it would be instantaneous.
That's
but it went
eternity for AI.
Yeah, with that. And it came out with an article. It didn't sound anything like me. I looked at it and I thought, this is not my voice.
Yeah.
This is not my voice. There was something I could immediately tell that was totally generic, that was more like an advertisement for something else. So I realized I can't do that. It's not, actually, it wasn't going to help me at all. Mm-hmm. So I had to do the whole article the way it was. So I think over time, we're going to figure out what sounds like ChatGPT and Claude, and Gemini, and what doesn't. Because basically, it only reflects something that's plain vanilla without any chocolate, chocolate on top of the ice cream, let alone candy.
It's an interesting analogy.
Got to think about
I like
it.
That.
Chocolate with like some sprinkles.
Yeah. If you have a question for the good doc, 608-492-9292.
Email me at askdrzorba@gmail.com. And of course, our website, drzorba.org. Okay, Carol, we talk about how much we both love coffee, and it doesn't hurt that there are health benefits to drinking coffee as well, which is why we're partnering with Just Coffee Cooperative on this podcast.
Just Coffee Cooperative is committed to transparency with their online coffee tracker. You enter the code on your coffee bag, and it tells you the country of origin, the roast type, the roast date, how much per pound was paid to the grower, and you can even view the contract under which the green coffee was purchased.
And guess what, listeners? If you use the code ZORBA10, you'll get 10% off your entire order on their website, www.justcoffee.coop. Just Coffee Cooperative, justice from the grounds up.
Okay, Zorba, let's take a listener email now. This question came from our Facebook page. So I guess it's not an email. I lied. It's actually a Facebook thing. Just a liar. It's from Wendy in Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, who writes, Dr. Zorba, my question is about liver functioning. I'm in my late 40s and have been diagnosed with fatty liver and have had an MRI to check for cirrhosis and had a CT scan with dye. I try to eat healthy. I've tried unsuccessfully to lose weight, no alcohol. I've read about castor oil being applied to the belly and liver region at night with pressure and heat to help digestion, and I've seen claims about the ridding of parasites. I've had better bowel function after a few weeks with this. I've seen so many ads for oil and liver treatments. They all have costs, which puts them in the snake oil category. She's onto something here, right? Yeah. What can I actually do to get my liver back in tip-top shape? I've heard the liver can regenerate. Just want to start that over.
I've heard the liver.
You've heard the liver?
I've never heard my liver. What does it say?
Liver die.
Liver die.
There's
the Carl joke.
The joke
I said we needed a Carl joke.
And it wasn't even
good. You got it. It was spontaneous. What did the liver say? Liver die. That's right. Yay, give me 5. That's it. See, we got the Carl joke. Carl jokes. Liver die.
Okay. Sorry, Wendy. Wendy continues, I've heard the liver can regenerate and repair, but I've been at this for years. What do you think, Doc?
Well, first of all, the stuff you rub on the liver is worthless.
The castor oil and all that
it's
stuff?
Bull. Doesn't do anything. I mean, it may feel good, but you got your skin. It's impervious
But
to
she's
all
getting
stuff.
Results, though. Is that placebo effect?
I don't know what she's getting for results. It has nothing to do with what she's rubbing on there. Sorry, doesn't work. You got the skin, then you've got something called the peritoneum. There are all these things that keep anything from going into the liver. Our body wants to protect our liver. And most of it is underneath the rib cage. It's really important, so it doesn't work. Now, a fibroscan, there's something called a fibroscan, which she probably had, but I don't know. She may have had an MRI, of course, with it. But there's something called a fibroscan, which is like an ultrasound of the liver. And that also will tell you, it's a non-invasive way of telling you how your liver is doing. So there are things you can do. No alcohol for the rest of your life. That's all. Can you have an occasional drink? Of course. When I say no alcohol, I mean not on a regular basis. Go to an NA beer. That's what you do. And if you can't stay away from alcohol, try to figure out how to do that, just because that's the case. I also would be careful with Tylenol. I would not have more than, we'll say, 500 milligrams twice a day, maybe up to 3 times a day, because we know in large doses that affects the liver. I don't think it's in small doses. So I would stay under 2,000 milligrams a day for Tylenol for pain. And frankly, if you can tolerate ibuprofen or naproxen, that is not metabolized by the liver. It's really by the kidneys. So that's a better drug drug for you to use for pain. And those are the things that I would do. The liver does regenerate. The liver does remarkable things. And the other thing I would do, I would take a B-complex vitamin, and I would take at least a double dose of it, because there's fairly good evidence that B-complex vitamins actually help the liver regenerate. And one of the issues with cirrhotics, people who have cirrhosis, who are alcoholics, is they appear to be vitamin B, the B vitamin basically short in their bloodstream. So I would take B vitamins. I would take 2 multi-B vitamins separate that you get on Amazon or anywhere else. I would take that every day.
Okay. That's a lot of good advice. Good. Should we jump right to the Grammar Cops section here? Your favorite?
Of course.
Okay. I'll just hit the button.
We got a grammar situation here. Grab a cop. Watch your grammar. Grab a cop. Watch your grammar.
I love the watch your grammar.
You gotta watch your grammar. And actually, Zorba, this one is not from. This is from the Prostate Police.
Oh, prostate.
We've definitely never heard from them before. And believe me, I wish we had a separate theme song. I wish I had time to make a theme song for the Prostate Police. Maybe in the future. This is an email from Ron.
I'm trying to think about that. What that song
what would that
be like?
We have time. What would that sound like?
Something like that, because it keeps you from urinating.
You're just holding,
stopping
holding
you
it,
from
holding
it in. That's what it's got to be holding it in.
Hold on for one more day. That's a song. Okay, this is from Ron in Minnesota, who writes, "Hello, Dr. Zorba and Carl. On the June, this sounds like the Prostate Police. He's got a date here. On the June 10th podcast, Dr. Zorba stated that the PSA screening test for prostate cancer is, quote, of marginal benefit.
Right.
15 years ago, when I changed doctors, my new doctor, an internist, did not use the traditional digital exam as part of the annual wellness check. When I asked him about it, he simply said that the PSA is more accurate, and I took it at face value. After 10 years, the annual PSA test jumped, and he recommended testing in 6 months. And at 6 months, it was again elevated. So my internist then referred me to a urologist who specializes in urologic, let's go with that, oncology at the University of Minnesota, who first checked with a digital exam. The urologist, that's hard, said he found nothing with the digital exam, but also that he does not trust the digital exam alone, and that the elevated PSA test twice in a row was enough to have an MRI. The MRI did detect a suspicious growth, and the biopsy that followed removed lesions in the left apex that were found to be cancerous. Got to take a breath. This is a long email. I have since had an additional MRI based on the elevated PSA, and again that resulted in a biopsy to remove cancerous lesions, and I continue to have the PSA checked every 6 months. Again, the urologist checked with a digital exam and again said that the digital exam alone would not have alerted him to further testing. In my sample size of 1, the PSA is definitely the accurate cancer screening tool, and I would encourage Dr. Zorba to revisit the value of the PSA screening test for prostate cancer. Thank you.
Okay.
What do you think?
So first,
there was a lot. There was a lot there.
Yeah. So first of all, the PSA test is the most controversial cancer test that we have. Why? Because most prostate cancer does not kill you.
Okay.
It may be positive, but we don't have a way of differentiating between aggressive. Well, we do have a way of differentiating between aggressive prostate cancer and not when we actually do the biopsy. But the reality is most men with prostate cancer die of heart attacks. It's nothing to do with prostate cancer.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
No, that's just the leading cause of death.
Oh,
or
sure.
they die of other cancers, but they don't die of prostate cancer. And so the U.S. Public Service Task Force, I can't get the
whatever
acronym.
the acronym is.
Yeah, the acronym now. Gave it basically a flunking warning for about 12 or 15 years.
The PSA test.
Yes. They said causes more harm than good because it ends up causing more biopsies, more prostate removal, which can lead to erectile dysfunction, complications, and deaths from the surgery. Small amount of deaths, but are there. But because of basically some changes in medicine, they moved it from the flunking grade of test to the almost flunking grade of test.
Okay.
In other words, they moved it to have a personal discussion with your doctor. so that you must have a personal discussion. So in other words, you got to read about it and decide. I am in that realm. I'm in the realm of maybe flunking. I'm not in the realm of other. I have an enlarged prostate. I get up a couple times during the night. I have not had a PSA test, and I will not have a PSA test. Now, maybe I'll die of prostate cancer. Maybe I'll die of heart attack or a stroke. I don't know. I mean, there's no screening. I don't have a screening test to see if I have a brain aneurysm. Mm-hmm. There's no screening test for lymphoma or pancreatic cancer. There's no screening test for lung cancer, non-cancer person. There's no a non-smoker. There's no screening test for ovarian cancer. No screening test for multiple myeloma, for leukemia. We don't have screening tests for a lot of things. The PSA test is a controversial test. So anyone who has the cancer removed absolutely should logically say, I'm glad I had it. It saved my life. The answer is, it may have saved their life. It may have been a slow-growing cancer, but some of them are slow-growing and some of them are not. So that's why it's an individual decision made where you do your research on the web and you talk to your doctor and then you decide whether or not you're screened. Your doctor shouldn't just say, I'm screening everybody. I don't think that's good medicine. And your doctor shouldn't say, in this day and age, following the guidelines, I'm not screening everybody. Your doctor, nurse practitioner, or PA should say, I'm screening people who want to be screened. Here's the data. You decide.
Very good. All right, that's the end of this show. What did we learn today, Zorba? We learned about your surgery that you just had.
That's right.
How you're doing great.
That's right.
He's doing great, listeners. Zorba helped out a listener in Utah, and we talked about liver function, and we just heard about the PSA test.
Right. And one more thing.
What's that?
The Carl joke.
Yeah.
The Carl joke.
Not great. That was
the Carl joke.
I don't think it was very good.
We didn't have an introduction. Hey, you're not your mom. You're not your mom.
No way.
But you are a punster.
Come
on, you are a punster.
I could never write jokes like my mom.
No, you could never write jokes. Hey, but you're a chip off your old block.
Someday,
when you're
maybe.
Their mom.
Yeah, we'll see.
So anyway, we had a great show. Call us at 608-492-9292. Email me at askdrzorba@gmail.com. Come to the website, drzorba.org. And don't forget to stay well.